everybody, I'm Vasel, and today we're going to take a look at another part from the Marvel United newest set, and this is the War of Kings. This one brings the Inhumans, people who live on the moon or near the moon, or they're like mutants, except they're not mutants because they went through the Terrigen Mist, and that's completely different. Anyhow, probably the most famous of them is Black Bolt. There's even a terrible TV show about these people, but in the comics they're kind of interesting. Let's see how they work in the game. Several of the characters will bring the Terrigen Mist tokens into play. And when that happens, you put one randomly in each location. And if they have an ability that lets you turn one over, you turn it over and you get the token that it's on there. Now, I will say a couple of these are blank, although that can be fixed if you play with the Inhumans team cards. But this is something that's added in. So let's get started right away with Black Bolt. So Black Bolt, who is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe. Not as powerful here. He has the starting card with the Terrigenesis, where, you know, he can reveal them on his turn. And he has his hypersonic scream, which is pretty cool. It hit the opposite one, but with no tokens on the bottom, I'm not sure. He also teams up with Medusa. I think what's best about him is heroes, he has two of these matter manipulation cards, where heroes cannot take any damage at the beginning of his next turn, or they can attack against each thug, henchman, and villain in the location. And then his leadership card, which is amazing, which is a wild at the bottom and gives 2 tokens out. Yeah, he's pretty powerful. Medusa, with the very long hair, she's not as powerful, but she's much more heroic. Has a lot of heroic symbols, which is rarer. She also starts with the Terrigenesis card. She has 2 cards that let her work with the Fantastic Four, using their action tokens on that. So that's interesting. You can throw her into a Fantastic Four team. I'm just not sure if that's worth it. Fantastic Four are already so good together. And she can bond with Black Bolt, and another hero gets a while, which is pretty neat, or just defeat 2 thugs. She's still really, really good, and the fact that you can play her with the Fantastic Four is very nice. I'm pretty sure Lockjaw's in the game because you people just want to play with this big fat dog. Lockjaw is fine. He's basically about movement and attack. He can move anywhere with 2 of his cards, and then the other 2 cards he can move and take people with him. So if you want a dog or a character that can just move all over the place and do some attacking, Lockjaw is fine in that regard. Possibly the coolest model in the game here is Crystal. So Crystal, she's about attack. She's kind of a balanced character. She has the Terrigenesis card, and she also has a Fantastic Four connection. Although you wouldn't want to use her and Medusa and 2 Fantastic Four, I don't know. She can relocate thugs and civilians, but she also comes with this seismic barrier token. This is really cool. It's too bad it's only on 1 card. And you can put it between, and a villain trying to move has to stop and then remove the token. This would be great against a Rhino and Juggernaut. She also has Hydrokinesis, which lets her hit 3 different targets in her and adjacent locations, or 2 against a single target in an adjacent location with a wild. Karnak the Dork is next. He has a card with a move and a wild at the bottom, which is kind of unique in that sense. But what he has is this Foresight card. We can look at the top 2 cards, but I like his doubling cards. Double the attack of the previous card, or double the heroic action on the previous card. And these also come with a heroic action. You talk about someone who's going to just basically finish threats in the middle, it's him. Gorgon is easily one of the strongest characters in the entire Marvel United set. So, I mean, he also has a move and a wild, and then attack, attack, attack. And then down here, he has Terrigenesis, he works with those. Hit both locations, gain a token, or hit 2 in a single target. He has 2 of those cards. Well, actually, I think 3 of those cards, all with something different on the bottom. You want to punch someone? He's your guy. Triton comes with not only a cool water base, but water tokens. And his cards, he has Terrigenesis, so he can use that. But he has stuff to do with water tokens. Here he can put water tokens out and move them. Then he attacks. If he's in a location, he gets a wild action. And he has 3 of those. Also, if he's in a location, he can't take any damage. Now, the problem is he has to get this card out, so you're probably going to want to play this as his starting hand. get this out immediately, and no one else really handles the water with him. Then we have Gladiator. Now pay attention to his hero deck because this is going to matter soon. He has 2 moves and 2 wilds, which sounds amazing. And it is amazing, especially since he has some wilds on the bottom of these. Invulnerable, he can ignore crisis tokens. And here, he can attack a location equal to the number of cards in your hand twice. So he's pretty strong. This matters because when he's a villain, you're going to use his hero deck. So you actually have 2 tracks here you're keeping track with. And when he lands on someone, instead of doing a bam, he will duel them. And after you finish 2 cards, you can duel him. You need to beat him in a certain number of duels to win the game. And when you duel him, you will be drawing from his hero deck at least 2 cards, and then you have to play cards that are going to match the icons on the bottom of his thing. And since he has a lot of wilds, have fun with that. Having fun trying to beat him in duels. And then his cards themselves, if there's a duel, he'll draw an extra card in some of the spots, taking damage, putting threats back on the board. So getting rid of threats is not necessarily the best way to fight him, I found. But he's definitely an interesting character, and definitely true to what he is in the comics. Also true to who he is in the comics, Vulcan, the biggest jerk ever. I really hate Vulcan. He doesn't bam you, he gives you KO tokens. He doesn't knock people out necessarily. He just gives them a token when he knocks them out. He doesn't bam, he gives them a token, and when there's a certain number of tokens, you lose. So here, one of his threats here is Deathbird. Do 1 damage to a hero in this in both adjacent location. Ugh. And if you clear, you can get rid of one of your KO tokens. Great, so clear her out. Here's the problem. He straight up has a card that brings her back, which isn't very helpful. He also can't be damaged if there's thugs in his location with some of his cards. And as long as 1 or more of these cards in play, you have to discard a card every time you do damage to him. And on some of his cards, 3 of them, your special effects are blank. Also, you can't affect his master plan cards. And he does damage and looks at all the cards, and if you have a special effect, you discard cards. And I hate this guy so much because he makes your special cards not very useful, and he's one of my least favorite villains to play against for that reason. Finally, there's some locations in this one where you flip the thugs and civilians. Kind of a weird roulette type thing you're playing. Look at the top 2 cards of the master plan deck, draw 2 cards and discard that many, and if a villain's here, discard a card to delay his next turn by 1 card. That's pretty good. I like the blue area of the moon. These are some of my favorite characters in the game, period. I'm giving this expansion a 10 out of 10. I love it. Yes, I hate Vulcan, but whatever. The game gives me one of the most interesting villains, the Gladiator, to do duels against, and then gives you 6 or 7 different cool things. The Terrigen Mists are really fun to work with, especially if you play with the team set card. But even if you don't play with a team card, and then their synchronization of one of my other favorite teams, the Fantastic Four, that doesn't hurt. They're just fun. Yes, they're a little bit more powerful. Eventually later on this year, when I rank every character from here, you're going to see several of these people ranked very highly. I think they're some of the best characters in the game. They have to be if they're going to go up against Vulcan. But anyway, I don't want to keep talking about him. Just canceling special powers always annoys me, because then what's the point of having special powers? Anyway, it's a cool set. There's nothing spectacular, there's no new rule set in this. It's just a bunch of heroes and a couple villains. That's good by me. So definitely check out War of Kings. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time.